Well, the NAHL draft has come and gone, and Marc Fakler, it would seem to be a light afternoon to start it off, not picking to the fourth round. Turned out to be a very hectic one, to say the least, starting with a trade that brings in a very solid defenseman.
Well, we had the ability to trade for Marc. Marc was one of the players that actually, when I first was hired here, was one of the first players that we had offered an initial tender to start our first year off. Unfortunately, he decided to sign with St. Louis last year and then was moved to Jamestown. He was in a situation where he was looking to try to get in a situation close to back home, and we were able to facilitate a trade to make that happen. And we're really excited to add Marc. He's a quality young man who possesses a lot of poise, and he'll add a very strong veteran presence here to our blue line.
Talk about before the draft, each team has the ability to turn in tenders, kind of serving as contracts, if you will, to protect guys, and the Jr.K-Wings selected 6 of those tenders to protect.
Yeah, well, every team has 10 to start, and we traded away some of those through some acquisitions there to make ourselves a little bit better there in year one, to add some veteran players, because we can trade those tenders for players within the league. We actually had signed seven players here to tenders, but one of them, Connor Wood, was a player out of Honeybake that decided to forego junior hockey and skip it altogether to play collegiate hockey at Michigan State. But our other 6 guys we're pretty excited about. We signed 4 defensemen and 2 forwards. We signed defenseman Will Shire out of the North American 3 League in the Metro Jets that was a player that tried out for us last year. Didn't quite make our team, but we had him out practice with a few times. Really impressed us. We had a local player by the name of Eric Kyle that was a local player that we got to see quite a bit with the West Michigan Hounds, and we thought it was a good tender for us to sign a big rangy defenseman here that we think has got a lot of potential. One of our first tenders was another defenseman, Eric Franken from the Pittsburgh Hornets. I've got a lot of ties to the Pittsburgh area. I got a chance to see Eric play at the National Select 17 camp, and we've been following him for the last couple of years. We get into some of our other forwards here. We've got Brennan Sanford, a young 95-born forward who played in Lansing. He actually played up 2 years ago at the midget U18 level with Brandon Flood and Chad McDonald on that team, so we had a lot of familiarity with him. Our other forward is A.J. Marcinek, who's a forward from Byron Center. Played the last couple of years with Detroit CompuWare's organization, and he's been a tremendous player for them. And the last tender we signed going into the draft was a defenseman, Jesse Juntala, played for the Marquette Electricians under-18 team, and he's another young player at a 1995 born, and he's already committed to a scholarship at Northern Michigan University for the fall of 2014. So we're looking forward to developing him for college hockey.
Was it a little bit of easier draft? You go back to a year ago when you really had to select, I think you had 28 picks or something. It was something ridiculous. It seemed like every other pick was coming from Kalamazoo. Now it's the 4th round. Is it a little more nerve-wracking when you're watching guys maybe on your board disappear when you're waiting to the 4th round compared to last year when, I don't know if you even had time, because it seems like every other pick was yours?
Well, the waiting's the hardest part. This year when we had a few players that we saw some good players get taken off the board very early in our draft, and we expected that. But we were very confident with the names that we had selected here that we were going to go. I mean, we didn't deviate very much from our draft plan going in, so we felt that we did a great job preparing for yesterday afternoon's draft. And we had a goaltender that had a tremendous showing here at a pre-draft camp, Nick Stewart from Philadelphia. We had some guys that had scouted him a little bit during the year, and he had a strong national tournament, and so we were excited to be able to draft him first, and then things kind of steamrolled from there for us.
Is the word coming out of the draft, or at least probably even going into the draft, was balanced? You wanted to have a balanced draft, and you look at from top to bottom with the 7 picks that you were able to obtain. That seemed to be the message of the day delivered.
Well, absolutely. We got to draft 2 goaltenders. Our other goaltender we drafted is Brandon Halverson. We feel he's the best 1996-born goaltender in his age group in Michigan, so we're excited about having him and Nick kind of battle it out for a spot here on our club. And then we look at the 2 defensemen we drafted. Another young prospect there, Adam Larkin from Clarkston High School, and then we took a chance on Robert Mann, who's was committed to go to Robert Morris, but that could be either this fall, could be the following fall. It just depends on Robert Morris's a couple injury situations that they're not sure if their players are going to be able to play for him next year. And if in the event that he is available for us, we'd love to be able to add a player of that caliber. And we took a couple stabs there at the forwards for a couple high-end players. Mike Smatula, fortunately for me, is a player that I've known a long time. I had him first when he was in hockey school at 6 years old in Detroit. He obviously had a tremendous year in Summerside in the Maritime Junior Hockey League last year, and just recently, the last couple of days, committed to Sacred Heart University for the fall of 2013. So, I mean, we'll have a challenge to try to see if we can get him to come to Kalamazoo, but, figure that was a calculated risk that was worth taking.
You look at some of the other forwards that you brought in. You get a kid from the Cleveland area that if he can do part of what he did, he was. You look at almost 90 points that he threw up a year ago. The Plain Dealer made him the Player of the Year. If you can get players like that, and you're attracting those players to Kalamazoo, we already talked about what kind of fun year this could be. You get some of these guys, a fun year becomes a very deadly squad.
Well, absolutely. Well, we're really excited about the kids we tendered before the draft, and then we really enhanced with our tenders and our current core players what we were able to do with the draft. And a player like Pat Spellis, being recruited by USHL teams, we were able to be able to draft him, which I thought was fairly late in our draft in the fifth round. So we're excited to get a player that brings his ability. And then, the big wild card for everybody here is there were 4 teams that were folded in our league. That all those players become free agents, and so we're battling for players right now that played for the St. Louis Bandits, that went all the way to the Robertson Cup, and a few other teams there that had some high end players that were able to return to the league.
When you're trying to figure that out, we're trying to get the players from the 4 teams, is it fair to say that still the focus of the organization right now is late June, which would be your next tryout camp, I should say?
Oh, absolutely. We'll have all the guys here that we expect here to compete for spots here at the end of June, and one we'll be missing for a little bit of that year is we've got Jesse Junetla is part of the Michigan Select Success 17 group. They'll be in Rochester, New York for most of that week, so we're hoping to have him for the very end of camp. But everybody else is planning to be here at the end of June. They're all excited. It's nice when you pick up the phone and guys are excited about hearing their name that they were called by Kalamazoo.
Very good problem to have, but it could also be a very nerve-wracking problem. The Jr.K-Wings go to the North Divisional Playoffs finals last year, and right away, really no time to blink. You go into your league meetings, now you have a draft, and a little over a month from now, the main camp begins.
Yeah, everything is ramped up here a little bit. We would decide to move it up a few weeks and see if that would help ourselves out. We felt there was a little bit too much lag time between our camps last year. It does put a little extra stress on myself and the rest of our staff to get things done and turned around in a quick amount of time. But we feel that we'll be prepared going into the year here. And once we get through our main camp, hopefully we can get a little bit of downtime and get refreshed and get ready to go for another exciting year here in Kalamazoo.
Well, a lot of teams around the NAHL gave the Jr.K-Wings an A for their draft last year. It proved to be a very successful draft as the Jr.K-Wings made their way to the North Divisional Final. And based on the numbers that we see right now, another A effort for the Jr.K-Wings. Now we'll get to see them in action, I should say, here later in the month of June and then into July for the main camp. The real season starts September right here at Wings West. Marc, congratulations on a great draft. We'll talk to you in June.
Thanks, Mike. We're looking forward to it.